What is going on, everyone? My name is Jason, and this is the Sony FX3. Okay, cameras. Funny thing is that I don't really talk about them much at all on this channel, even though I will say that outside of my phone, it's probably one of the most often used tech items that I own, and definitely one of the most valuable considering that I wouldn't be able to do this whole YouTube thing without one. And no joke, it's been an incredible couple of years for digital cameras. The technology in this realm has seen some considerable gains, and the hardware now available to consumers and prosumers alike is leagues better than what was even just a few years back. Now, the main reason for this review, some of you already know, I recently upgraded to the Sony FX3 to serve as the main camera for all of my videos moving forward. I got really lucky. I legit think I got the last one available in the US before it went on back order. And man, I've been utterly blown away at how freaking great this camera is. And after really thinking about it, I'm pretty convinced that the Sony FX3 is the best video camera for all YouTubers right now. Could be a hot take, but I'm standing by it, and I want to talk about the reasons why. Okay, quick disclaimer, let's just address the 500-pound elephant in the room early on. Bro, this camera's expensive. It retails for $3,898 US, and once you factor in lenses, SD cards, etc., dude, it becomes quite an investment, no lie. And the reason why I want to bring this up is that I don't want to give off the impression that you need something like the Sony FX3 if you're interested in starting a YouTube channel. You really don't, and for better context, I built my bones with JSL Review shooting majority of the videos on a pretty dated Panasonic Lumix G7, which you could probably pick up used for like $300 now. And I know that it can sound cliched, but the phone that you have in your pocket is also extremely capable when it comes to video. So don't think that you absolutely need a camera like this in order to be successful on a platform like YouTube. You really don't. Now, before we get into the review, in case you're new here, I'm Jason. I would really appreciate it if you take a quick second to press that thumbs up button. It really does help out solo creators like myself get a little bit more traction on their videos, so please help a brother out. And in case you're a tech junkie like me, I make a video like this every single week. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date with all the reviews. And real quick, if you're a fellow creator or into video yourself, what equipment are you on? Curious to see which cameras y'all are using? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, the first reason why the Sony FX3 is the best camera for YouTube right now, it's because it's a video first camera. Let me explain. So most cameras up to this point, especially DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, they're designed to be more photocentric for still photography, with video capability kind of being secondary if really there at all. Now, there's definitely still a time and place for cameras like that, and I'd say most are now designed in a way where prioritization between photo and video are split down the middle. But when you look at the way that the Sony FX3 is physically put together, and why it's in Sony's cinema lineup as opposed to its A-series mirrorless category, it's clearly meant for video shooters. First, the layout of all the buttons and their functions is geared towards people shooting video. So you have dedicated buttons for things like zebras, focus peaking, iris, functions that are often buried in the menu for most non-video centric cameras. And having quick access to them is really convenient. You also get a record button on the front of the camera, which is fantastic when you're shooting A-roll all by yourself. And you get some pretty awesome tally lights that light up when you press record. I can't tell you how many times I recorded a session thinking that I pressed the record button when I actually didn't, so this small addition is actually much appreciated. You also get a fully articulating flip out screen, something Sony didn't have for a while for some reason. And of course, this makes it possible to quickly make sure you're in frame and that your camera settings are all good, critical for solo shooters like myself and most other YouTubers out there. The frame of the FX3 is also quite different in it that it's got a boxier design. It doesn't even have a viewfinder. And it has multiple embedded 1/4-inch threads, which allows you to mount accessories directly onto the camera itself without necessarily needing to buy something like a cage. And what makes the FX3 stand out is that in lieu of the missing viewfinder, it comes with this top handle that actually has two built-in full XLR inputs for audio. It connects via the hot shoe mount, giving you the ability to set up a professional audio setup that can be controlled 100% on this panel for ease of use. And considering that audio quality when it comes to your video production is so important, especially in the world of YouTube, it's fantastic that you can get 24-bit recording straight into camera, no syncing and post needed, on up to 4 channels total on the FX3. It's pretty impressive. The handle itself is also great to use for handheld shots. It's a bit short, so I did add on the small rig handle extension, which makes it way more comfortable and adds more functionality. It has a built-in fan that's super quiet and almost ensures that you're never going to run into overheating issues. And it still has really good weather sealing, so you can use it confidently out in the wild. Now, all that to say, yes, the Sony FX3 is clearly a video first camera for all of those reasons, but it can still take photos and honestly, they're pretty good. It's definitely not best in class if you're serious about photography, but totally capable at getting you some really nice looking shots, and it's a great feature to have. But let's really get into the meat and potatoes on why the Sony FX3 is the best camera for YouTube right now, and that's because of its video capabilities and video quality. So the first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna show you a very brief clip that I edited off the FX3 a couple days ago. Now some additional context, this was a total spur of the moment thing. I did not plan this shoot out at all. It was snowing, I was about to go outside, and for some reason I decided to grab my camera. Whatever lens was on there, I just took it. I probably shot max 5 minutes because it was freaking cold outside, but despite that, this was the clip that I was able to put together. Not bad, right? Okay, it's pretty amateur, I get it, but I almost never film outside of a very controlled indoor environment. And again, considering that I was able to get what I consider to be very beautiful looking footage within a small 5-minute random on the whim type of shoot is pretty amazing, especially because I don't have a lot of experience shooting in more dynamic settings. And to break down how this short clip exemplifies why the Sony FX3 is the best camera for YouTube, let's start off with one of the most critical capabilities this camera wields, and that's autofocus. The FX3 is equipped with Sony's class-leading autofocus system, which is really almost foolproof in shooting people. I was shooting on the Blackmagic Pocket 6K prior to picking up the Sony, and man, I love that camera and it can produce some of the most stunning footage I've ever seen, but there's virtually no autofocus available on that camera, so it makes talking headshots complicated because if you're shooting wide open, moving just a couple inches off your focus mark can totally jack up your recording. With the FX3, you can move literally anywhere around the frame and it locks on your eye like a sniper. It's truly outstanding. So when I was out shooting, I didn't have to worry about manually pulling focus. You can see everything is tack sharp and focused correctly. And not having to worry about that when you're run and gun shooting is such a weight off your shoulders. Like, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been able to get this beautiful zoomed in shot of my son to focus right had I not had Sony's autofocus system. It would have required a lot more time and energy if I had to focus by hand. Not something you have a lot of when you're filming a 4-year-old. Now the other thing about the FX3 that makes it great for YouTube is that it's a full frame camera, and that does 2 important things. Number 1, it makes it a lot simpler to frame up a wide angle shot like this one without needing to push the camera too far away like you would have to if this was a crop sensor camera. This is especially helpful for vlogging as it gives you that classic YouTuber wide frame without needing to rely on a crazy wide lens or a really long GorillaPod. Second, the full frame sensor gives you better depth of field, so you get that blurry background in the back. I'm using a pretty wide 20mm lens for the shot, but you can see that even in this tight space, the background has a good amount of blur to it. And this just really helps you get more of that cinematic look, especially when filming in certain environments. Now, in addition to the 2 basic benefits that come with virtually all full frame cameras, what makes the Sony FX3 so great is that its sensor is able to capture some of the best video quality that I've ever seen. And the first thing that I want to touch on here are the colors this camera is able to produce. The FX3 can shoot 4K video in 10-bit 422 internally, which gives you far more color data than the Sony cameras of the past. I shot this whole sequence in S-Log3, which is Sony's super flat log profile to capture as much data as possible for the best dynamic range, and you can see that the footage grades beautifully without compromising quality. The colors are absolutely gorgeous. I especially love how it manages skin tones, and you're able to get this cinematic look that, in my opinion, rivals cameras that are far more expensive. And what's really impressive is that the Sony FX3 can shoot this rich, very high quality 4K video in both 60 and 120 frames per second. This allows you to get these ultra silky slow motion shots without needing to concede anything when it comes to quality, which really speaks to how powerful the sensor's processor is, because this kind of footage requires an enormous amount of processing, and it's pretty remarkable that the FX3 can handle it so well. So to really sum up why this camera is, in my opinion, the best camera for YouTube, It really comes down to this. The video quality that you're able to achieve on the FX3 is extremely robust and versatile. We're talking definitely pro level here. And the thing is that it's not complicated to get. When you're in the world of YouTube, you find out pretty quick that you need to do whatever it takes to make your production a lot easier. And that often meant sacrificing quality, especially when it comes to cameras. But with the FX3, you really get the best of both worlds. This is one of the most user-friendly cameras I've ever used. It's made putting these videos together so much easier. And I'm straight blown away that I'm still afforded this level of quality. It's seriously amazing. But hey, I get it, the Sony FX3 costs about 4G, so it better be pretty freaking good at that price point. But let me know in the comments if you guys think it's worth it, or if you think another camera is more worthy of the crown for best camera for YouTube. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. Okay, that's about it for this review. Don't forget to leave me a thumbs up if you guys found it useful. Again, I'd really appreciate it. Check out these other reviews if you're looking for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one.